£26,000 puts you in the top 50% of UK earners. £60,000 puts you in the top 10%. I think those statistics are crazy. And on this week's show, we're going to be talking about how you can put yourself in the top 10% of UK earners using 2 side hustles. My name is Russell Leeds.
I'm Ricci Mandal.
And welcome to the Property Investors Podcast. Now, when you first heard those statistics, Rick, what did you think?
It's mind-blowing, really, how little you have to earn to be in such a high category.
Yeah.
Like, when you think of the top 50%, was it top 50, you say?
Top 50%, £26,000. Now, just to clarify where I got these figures from, so this is from the Office of National Statistics, ONS, and it is always a little bit, it's the government's most up-to-date figures, but it is probably a couple of years old, so it might be, say, 10% more, but it's going to be there or thereabouts. Also, just to clarify as well, £26,000 isn't the average salary. So a lot of people are like, oh, the average salary is 35, which it is. The average salary is 35. But first of all, that's a full-time salary.
Right.
And secondly, the average is very different from the percentile that puts you in the top 50%.
Oh, I like that word.
Percentile.
Is that even a word?
Yeah.
Really?
Are you joking?
Percentile.
Percentile. So to be in the top, if you're in 26...
Top 50% percentile?
Yeah, if you're earning more than 26 grand, you've got 50% of the UK population are earning less than you. Now, that might be people that are part-time. It's not taking into consideration people that are unemployed, though.
Right.
It's all people that have got a job.
I wonder what the unemployment rate is.
Well, yeah, if you take the unemployment rate into it, it's even.
Well, you'd have a higher percentile if you considered everyone. So to be in the top 50%, you don't need to be earning a lot.
No, not to be in the top 50. To be in the top 10%, I think £60,000 is it's a good salary.
Yeah.
But it's not crazy. You'd think, wouldn't you, if it was, I'm in the top 10% of earners in the UK, you'd assume that they were going to be rich.
Yeah.
You wouldn't assume they're earning 60 grand.
Yeah.
So I thought what we're talking about this week is 2 side hustles that we have seen countless of our students and we've used ourselves that you can easily create £60,000 a year or more.
Yeah.
Therefore, putting yourself, even if you are unemployed right now, you can put yourself in the top 10% of earners in the UK, which is a pretty cool thing. I'd love to be in the top 10%. I'd be interested to know where you guys are actually and see what the comments are of people that watch this channel. So, comment below where you are. Are you in the top
I don't know if anyone's going to comment if they're not even in the 50%.
Well, no, you might do. We'll have to see.
Good load to comment, we're in the top 100%. Everyone's in the top 100%.
Well, once the top 10%, it then increases quite a lot. I can't remember the figures, but to be in the top 1%, you are earning, 200 grand or something like that. It does make quite a big difference.
Yeah.
Top 10% is a lot easier. All right, so do you want to talk about the first side hustle that you can do?
Yeah, so the first one is a strategy that you can do. There's no startup costs. It's a low barrier entry, and that is deal sourcing. So deal sourcing is where you find a property deal, and most people think to invest in property, to make money from property, you have to have loads of money. Well, deal sourcing is quite a genius way of doing it, because deal sourcing, you're finding opportunities that maybe you could take on yourself if the circumstances were right, if you had the money to do it. You're finding opportunities that you would do yourself, but then you're simply packaging them together and passing them on to an investor. And investors will pay a hefty fee to you for doing that, because your knowledge of finding deals, your expertise in how to negotiate, your knowledge on doing the due diligence, and the value that you bring to the table is what the investor is paying you for. So the average fee for a deal that's packaged and sold is between £3,000 and £5,000. So if you did that once a month, just once a month, the average month is 30 days. If you did that once over those 30 days, you're in the top.
You'd certainly be in the top 50. Twice a month would get you in the top 10%.
Yeah.
So if you could sell 2 deals a month, it would get you in the top 10%. Have you read Stephen Bartlett's book, The Diary of a CEO?
I haven't. Samuel did mention about it the other day, though.
I'll tell you something interesting in that book. So he talks about how he was a marketer, he had a marketing business, and he got a job working for a pharmaceutical industry. And they offered him a certain amount of money. Well, first of all, they proposed to him, we want you to come work with us, this is what we want you to do, blah, blah. And it was all the stuff he'd always done before. And he said, sure, what's the salary? And they offered it him, and it was 5 times more than he said that he would have wanted in his wildest dreams. It was like crazy more than he was expecting. And he said the lesson he learned from that was the pharmaceutical industry has got a lot of money.
Yeah.
And if you can do the same job in this industry as what he was doing in other industries, there's a lot more money. And the reason there's a lot more money is because you bring a lot more value. So you might have the skill of being able to be a good marketer, but if you're marketing products that are £1, £10, whatever it is, if you're marketing a product that's £10, it doesn't matter how good you are as a marketer, there's only so much value in that because the thing that you're selling is only £10.
Yeah.
But if the thing that you're selling is £100,000, £200,000, like a property, suddenly the value goes up. So when you're a deal seller, what's your actual job? What are you actually doing? Well, you're finding good potential deals, you're packaging them together, and you're selling it. That's what you're doing. Now, in some ways, it's the same as the person that does garage sales. They go on Facebook Marketplace, they find a good product, they package it up and they sell it. But theirs is such a low value product that the money that what you get paid, because you're selling low value stuff, is low. If you can use those same skills, whether it be sales, finding good deals, whatever it is, and you can transition it into property, suddenly you're in a marketplace where the same skills are valued much more highly because there's much more money in it.
Yeah.
And that's why when you look at the Sunday Times Rich list, the vast majority of them are making their money in real estate. It's the same stuff, just on a bigger scale.
And a lot of people that invest in houses and real estate often don't have the time to do it themselves.
Yeah.
That's why they'll pay the fee. That's why they pay the price.
Do you think that most people that buy from a deal seller, do you think that they do it because they're buying the expertise? So, for example, people that have a wealth management company or someone, manage their stocks. The reason that you're paying them is because they're the expert, right? So they're the one that manages the stocks. They know how to invest it, etc., etc. Do you think with a deal seller you're doing that, or do you think it's to save time? Is it for the expertise? Is it for the time, or is it a bit of both?
I mean, I would say the reality is it's probably a bit of both. But I would say if you're an investor, because I get asked this quite a lot when we're at a crash course, someone would say, I want to buy from a deal sourcer. What do you think I should do? And my answer to them is, even if you want to buy from a deal sourcer, you still need to have the knowledge. You still need to have the expertise. Because it would be stupid to invest in a house without actually knowing what you're doing. I think the difference is with wealth management and stuff like that, is if you give your wealth manager a lump sum of money to invest, they invest it, but then also they, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not 100% sure, but I'm 90%.
They get a percentage of the...
But then don't they manage it for you? There's a whole process. It's not... With deal sourcing, once you bought a deal from a deal sourcer and you've completed, you're on your own.
Yeah.
But with wealth management, they are advising you, they're helping you along the way. They might... you can have check-ins with them.
Typically, but if like a stockbroker or something might sell you a stock, you put your money in, and then they want you to take your money out and put it in another stock, and they get paid each time. Do you know what I mean? So if you watch like The Wolf of Wall Street, he had clients who would buy again and again, and when the stock went up, he'd say, "Get your money out, invest it in something else."
But do you think investing in property and running it as a business is the same? Is it the same sort of running of the business as if you would invest in stocks? If you invest in stocks, you're getting the appreciation, aren't you? You're putting your money in, predicting what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Hopefully it appreciates. With property, though, you are doing that with the appreciation, but you're also collecting rent, you're managing tenants. I don't think it's the same business model.
No, it's very different. And I agree with you, by the way. I think that the majority of people that buy from a deal sourcer, certainly because I buy from deal sources, you buy from deal sources, right? When I'm buying from a deal sourcer, I'm buying for the legwork. I'm buying because finding deals is difficult.
Yeah. It
takes expertise, but it's also time consuming. So going and finding the deals, going on the viewings, collecting the quotes. If I'm buying a deal, I'm paying the $3,000 to save myself having to scroll through Rightmove, go on, all that stuff. So it's worth it for me in that situation. However, I think as a business, deal sourcing, if you could, like you mentioned, if you find two deals a month, if you can package yourself 2 deals a month, you've put yourself in the top 10% of earners in the UK. if we're looking at, say, £3,000 as an average deal sourcing fee, even if it was 2, you're 48, but I'd say 3 is probably fair. That's crazy.
I mean, and sometimes people that are brand new to it, they come through our training and they'll sell a deal, and sometimes they get a bit like, ooh, $3,000 is like, I didn't really do much. And the thing is, you're not getting paid for your time. You're not getting paid for, the time you spend going to view it and counting up the hours. Because if you added up the hours for actually packaging a deal, if you were to have an hourly rate, it would be a shockingly high hourly rate.
But again, it's back to the Stephen Bartlett story, right? You're getting paid for the value that you bring in. And because you're in a high income industry, because you're in property, and Andrew Tate's got a saying, if you want to get rich, go where there's money and just let it hit you. Get wet. If you want to get wet, if you go in the rain, it's the same. Like you want to make money, go into industries like real estate.
Yeah. It's funny you say that. So that's why I always see you outside in the rain just standing there. You like getting wet.
Do you?
Not really, no.
No. So that's a very interesting point, Rick, about that.
Percentage. No, what is it? Percentile.
Yeah, check it out, guys. Okay, so that's the first way, deal sourcing. Brilliant side hustle. How many hours a week, if you're looking to sell 2 deals a month, how many hours a week are you needing to invest in this? Let's say you've got a full-time job, you work 9 to 5, what would your strategy be outside of that, on the side, to put yourself in the top 10%? What would your action plan be?
It'd be every morning, so 5 days, a weekday morning, 5 days a week if you work, I'd do...
Instead of going on Instagram...
half an hour.
Rightmove.
Favouriting properties that you see.
Yeah, so go on to Rightmove, instead of scrolling, wasting... Because everyone scrolls and wastes time with them, right? Go on to Rightmove, find potential deals.
Half an hour.
Half an hour a day.
And then lunch break, book viewings on those properties for the Saturday.
Yeah.
So then you've got a day of viewings on a Saturday. In the evenings, after work, spend an hour doing the due diligence on those viewings. And then Saturday, do the viewings. And then the Saturday night or the Sunday morning,
I'd say like once or twice a month as well. While you're doing this, same time, once or twice a month, you go to a networking event.
Yeah, go building your investor list. And then it's just a case of packaging the deal together and selling it. Yeah. And packaging it, selling the deal, 5 minutes when you've got investors. The legwork comes at the start of the business. The legwork comes with building your investors list. But once you've got investors that are ready to go, which, I mean, geez, we've helped thousands of people do this. Thousands of people build investors lists. Thousands. You don't even know. Do you know what? You don't even have to have an investors list. You can partner with someone that has got an investors list. Give the deal to them. Split the fee 50-50. You could do this. We have people that do it around a full-time job. And if you want to leave work, this is the fastest way to do it in property.
Yeah.
Quick. When you watch Samuel's Financial Freedom Challenges, the very first thing he does is deal sourcing. If you hopefully you've seen it. If you haven't seen it, go and check him out. The very first thing he does is not buy a house. He doesn't get a rent-to-rent first. He doesn't look for lease options first. The very first thing he does is package and sell a deal. Why? Because it's a quick way to make money. Then what he does is he then goes on to another strategy, which we'll probably speak about in a moment.
All right, well, quickly then, pros and cons to deal selling. Biggest con, I would say, when you think about property, you have to think about passive income. It's not passive at all.
No, it's active.
It's totally active. You've got to find the investors. You've got to find the deals. It's not passive, but it is massive.
Yeah.
You can make a lot of money very quick, but it is a business. And like any business, it comes with its own challenges. But it's a brilliant side hustle you can definitely do in your part-time. Right, next up, you were touching on this in a moment, another brilliant side hustle.
What about the pro?
The pros are it's massive.
Oh, right, sorry.
It's a business, right?
Yeah. I mean, there are other pros as well.
We'll
list them. It's massive.
Yeah.
No money down.
Yeah.
Low barrier entry. It's the same as no money down, isn't it?
It's different, but similar.
It's quick.
We'll count it. You got 3 there.
It's massive. It's quick.
Next strategy. The next strategy, another brilliant strategy, is rent to rent.
And this is massive and quick as well.
This is massive and quick, and can be, depending on how you manage it, can be passive as well.
Can be.
So rent to rent, what is rent to rent? Well, very quickly, rent to rent is where you take control of someone else's property. So someone owns a property, you take control of it. you pay them a fixed rate for that, but then you rent it out for a higher value than what you're renting it off them for, and therefore anything that you make in between is profit. I've seen people do this in many ways. We've obviously done it in many ways. You can rent it as service accommodation, put it on Airbnb, booking.com. You can rent it as a house of multiple occupation, HMO, where you're renting it room by room, or you can do it as social housing, and you can rent it to the council. If you do it as social housing, it really is completely passive as well.
Yeah, it is. Rent to rent, by the way, is the second strategy that Sam uses on the Financial Freedom Challenge. Now, that's not to say you don't have to start with deal sourcing. You may want to start with rent to rent. It depends what your goals are, I guess, and what you want to achieve.
I'd say rent to rent is less of a business. You're acting more like a property investor, right?
But how can something be less of a business?
Well,
isn't a business a business?
It is. But if, for example, if you're doing deal selling, right, it's very much a normal. It's not like a property business. A property business is where you're like buying an asset, renting it out, right, creating like a passive income. I'd say rent to rent is more similar.
Trading.
To that. Yeah, rent to rent is more similar to that. Deal selling is more like a normal everyday business where you got a product. You're not buying the property. You're not making rent. You just got a product. Happens that your product's information, right? And then you're just selling it. So you're having to create the product, and then you're selling the product.
Yeah.
I would say rent to rent is more like a normal property business than a normal.
I guess it's more of a traditional way of making money through property from rents, I guess.
And that's why rent to rent has got the option to be passive, pretty much, depending on how you manage it.
Yeah.
Out of the three, HMO, service accommodation, and social housing. Do you have a preference that you've used successfully the most, or?
Well, service accommodation is what I've done the most. Is that through preference? No, it's just because the deals that we found, it just suited service accommodation more. I don't think. My opinion is, I don't think. You could correct me if I'm wrong, but because you might have a different view. But I don't think you should have a preference. I think it's just they're tools and strategies that you can use depending on the properties that you're looking at. When we book viewings and look online with, build relationships with landlords, you don't know what opportunity could come your way. And I think if you have a bit of a preference, be like, oh yeah, I prefer this, you might leave money on the table from not being open to other opportunities. So I've done more of service accommodation. That's kind of been the foundations of what we've been building. But, that's not to say it's my favourite. It's just the one that I've done the most of.
No, I agree with you. I agree. I like your analogy about tool. It's like, what's your favourite tool in your toolkit? Is it your hammer? Is it your screwdriver?
It depends on the job, doesn't it?
Exactly. And in the same way, it depends on the property that you've got agreed. It might be that you look at it and go, that would work really well.
Yeah. Your builder wouldn't come to your house and be like, right, the wall needs painting. But I prefer, hanging pictures up with a nail, with a hammer. So I'm not going to paint the wall.
Yeah. You don't have a favourite. It's like, do you know?
Is that a really bad analogy?
No, I know what you mean. So, do you know when kids will say to you, like my kids say to me, what's your favourite colour?
Yeah.
And it depends, right?
Yeah.
It depends on the context. Like, it might say red. Would you want to paint all the walls red?
Yeah.
No.
My favourite colour is gold. All right, well, how many gold shoes you got?
Yeah.
Well, none. Yeah, it depends on the context.
It depends on the context. And in the same way, what's your favourite strategy? It depends, right? It depends on the property, depends on what's going to work best. Ultimately, it depends on how you can have the most value and make the most money.
Exactly. That's what you need to become valuable to the marketplace and be able to solve problems. And the problems you'll be solving are when landlords can't sell their house, or they can't rent it out, or they've got negative equity, or they want to rent it but they're worried about tenants not paying or void periods. Well, these are all problems that you come in and solve with a strategy. And if you're focused on just one strategy and nothing else, you're leaving opportunities on the table. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't have a focus. I think you should have a focus, but know and be open to everything. Yeah, have a focus, of course. If you want to be a deal sourcer, focus on deal sourcing, but have to know about rent to rent. As a deal sourcer, especially. Because what deals are you going to be selling? Well, rent to rent, HMO, service accommodation. If you don't know about them, you'll never be able to sell any deals.
Well, we did a survey amongst our students that have got rent to rents, and asked them how much profit, on average, they were making per rent-to-rent. Do you know, have I told you the results of this?
You haven't.
Okay, I'm very
interested, yeah.
All right.
Let me hazard a guess.
All right, you hazard a guess.
Okay.
This is to the nearest £10.
To the nearest £10. I'm going to say, trying to think, the students that we've got that I've spoken to. I mean, I've seen a lot on Winners on a Wednesday.
The thing is, oh no, I'm not going to say anything. You go.
Okay, I'm going to say, to the nearest £10.
To the nearest £10.
I'm going to say £930.
That is a good guess.
Go on.
It's £970.
Oh.
I think it came in at 971 something.
It's ridiculous.
It is. That's per property.
So if you get 3 of those,
yeah,
you do the work 3 times. Just 3 times. You replace the average income.
Yeah, but that's the average full-time salary, which would be 36,000, right? If they were saying 1,000 each, if you got 6 of them, no, if you got 5 would 5? Yeah, 5. 5 would do it. If you got 5 of them, 5 times 12 is 60. So 5 of them would put you in the top 10% of earners alone.
And what's great about rent to rent is you only do work once. Finding the deal, setting it up, putting the systems in place. It's pretty much done, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, there is a degree of managing it. Depends on the strategy that you choose. I've managed a lot of... I've done all 3, actually. I would say 100% social housing is the easiest.
Yeah.
Social housing is more like having a commercial tenant. So it's literally a case of, here you go, housing association, have my property for 5 years, you manage it, you sort it, you do everything, and they give it back at the end of the 5 years. Or extend, you don't do anything, right? So social housing, from a passive point of view, is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Service accommodation is drips, but not a lot. We've talked about this before in other shows, but you need a good cleaner, you need a good maintenance guy, you need potentially a virtual PA. I've got a few properties that I'm personally managing myself now, and I'm probably looking at 20 minutes a week, half an hour a week maybe.
Yeah.
It's just little bits and pieces, just responding to messages on booking.com. To be fair, you could outsource that as well.
Yeah.
But I like to keep a little bit of an eye on it. And then HMOs, I think HMOs are the hardest to manage if you're doing it yourself. If you get a HMO management company in, but then you've got to manage the manager. I've always done it myself. And then there's obviously you've got to find new tenants, you've got to go to viewings, etc. So I'd say that's probably the hardest. If you get a good management company in, that could be pretty passive as well.
Yeah.
All of them can be passive, but definitely something you can do in your part time. If you're looking for a side hustle to make 60 grand a year, put you in the top 10% of earners in the UK. I mean, I don't know. If you had to rank them, they've both got pros and cons. Which one would you? Obviously, it depends on situations. With rent to rent, you're probably going to need a little bit of money. You'll probably need to put a deposit down, for example.
Yeah.
You mentioned with deal sourcing, you pretty much start with nothing. Rent to rent's also probably a slight bit more risky. Because if you
that is riskier.
Yeah.
If you get, you don't get the best property, then
you never ever
deal sourcing.
You're never going to lose money as a deal seller.
No,
it's impossible. The only thing you can lose is time.
Yeah, or petrol money.
Yeah.
Viewing houses, but we're not talking hundreds of pounds.
No.
No risk.
No risk. Big money, not passive.
No.
And then you got rent to rent.
Low risk.
Very low risk. So the other thing I really like about rent to rent, because I actually did a lot of rent to rent HMOs before I bought my first HMO.
Right.
And then when I bought my HMO, I knew so much about HMOs. I just knew it inside out because I've managed and HMOs and I've got HMOs on rent to rents. I think it's a brilliant learn. If you want to get into property, which I think everyone should, I think both these strategies, deal selling and rent to rent, what a great way to learn.
Gives you experience.
While you learn, right?
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. But if you had to rate them, if you had to, put them in position 1, position 2, or give them a mark out of 10, that's probably fairer. What are you giving as a side hustle, rent to rent? You got someone, you know anything about them, but they want to become a top 10% UK earner.
Yeah.
Rent to rent's their strategy. What are you giving that out of 10?
9.
9 out of 10.
Yeah.
1 out of 10.
Well, you'll find out in a minute.
All right. And if you had to give deal selling a mark out, can I guess what you're going to say?
Go on.
10.
I was going to go 9.5.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay, 9.5.
Yeah.
All right, why not 10?
Just because you want to leave room so that when you actually make the money from deal sourcing, when you've seen it, and it's like, yes, a 10.
All right, so you leave.
So you're almost under-promising to yourself and over-delivering.
But you've seen it and delivered it.
Well, I'll give it a 10 for myself.
Give it a 10 for yourself, 9.5 for everyone else.
Yeah.
And where would you rank if you said, what are the other sort of top strategies for side hustles? You know, things like
Lease options.
But outside of what are stuff that most people recommend? Like Gary Vee recommends garage sales. Where are you gonna put that? we give that.
If you want to make a bit of pocket money. I don't know. I'm not going to
Interesting. If you had a son.
Yeah.
And your son was 18 years old, and your son came to you and said, Dad, I hear what you said about rent to rent, 9 out of 10. I hear what you said about deal selling, 9.5 out of 10. But I saw Gary Vee talking about garage sales, and I'm going to go down the garage sale route. What would you think?
Good luck.
Good luck. Would you be pleased? Would you be like, well done, listening to Gary Vee and being an entrepreneur?
No, I'd say, you know what? Give it a go. And I'll see you in a few days when you come back and ask me how to do deal sourcing. If you want to be in the top 100% of all earners, you go ahead. If you want to be on the top 50%,
want to be in the top one,
which is basically if you earn a penny, if you earn 1 penny, well done, congratulations.
What would you give garage sales out of 10?
1.
What? Why does Gary Vee recommend that? I don't get it. I agree with you, by the way.
I don't know.
You must be in the top 100%.
I don't know. It's just. Listen, I don't have experience with it, so I don't know. Maybe you can earn decent money. It's just I don't like driving around, going through people's boxes of Hot Wheels and stuff. No.
All right. Is there any other side hustles you can think of?
Look at this mug. Sell this and make a £5.
Well, people do like.
It's not worth the time to make £5, is it?
People go.
You drive to another city, find a mug and sell it and get £5.
See, when I said that analogy,
I think his point is. Look, if you really want to make some money, you could do this.
Yeah.
That's what he's saying, but it's just.
I agree with you. It's like do you know we were talking earlier about your values by your value is paid by the value that you bring. And when you're in an industry like real estate, property, your value is high.
Yeah.
It's like choosing the worst valued area of all time.
Yeah.
I can't think of anything less valuable than. Well, I suppose we have garage sales do it. We have car boots. But if you were like, I'm doing car boots, what? What? But where I do think it's good, if my 14-year-old son came to me and said, I'm doing car boots, I'll be all over it. I would say that garage sales and car boots are one step up from paper rounds.
Paper round?
Paper round is a 1. I'm giving a garage.
See, my view is that paper round is just
side hustle.
Right? Yeah, but you do other things to make a bit of money if you want.
Yeah, but you could. Here's the thing that you say that, right? Have you seen? Do you know that most millennials? We talked about it on our show a few months ago. Most millennials think they're never going to be able to retire,
right?
Because the pensions just aren't good enough.
Yeah,
and they're going to have to work till they die, right?
Maybe you should get paper round.
Well, they do.
What?
Do you know when you see old retired people pushing boxes in Sainsbury's, pushing the trolleys around, or getting all paper? Have you not seen old people do that?
No, I've never seen it.
You've never seen
do we even do paper rounds? I haven't received a newspaper in ages.
You've never seen old people do paper rounds?
No.
I have.
Really?
Yeah.
What, scooting along and then chucking the paper on the doorstep?
Walking, an old person walking.
Never seen it. I haven't seen anyone doing a paper round in a very long time.
Did you have a paper round when you were at school?
No.
I had 3.
You entrepreneur, you.
Well, it's the best I could do to earn some money, right?
Yeah, fair enough. Listen, I'm not saying I've just never done it, so I don't have experience.
But this is what I'm saying though, is that people that are in this situation, this is the sort of stuff they are resorting to. Getting a really low paid job. If they're working and they're short of money, they're looking for a side hustle. It could be a paper round, it could be a car boot, it could be.
Listen, I'm not knocking it. I'm not knocking it. I'm saying that's great. That's great.
But this is much better.
Yeah,
it's not even the same league.
What I would do is I would say, great, do your paper rounds, do that, get a bit of money together, and invest into learning how to actually do property. use that as a moneymaker to invest in yourself.
Yeah.
But I just don't think you're gonna do like a paper round and car boot sales and that, make some money and then spend it all on just junk. Don't complain.
No, I agree. I think you're climbing the wrong tree. It's like you're completely on the wrong path.
Yeah.
I'd rather making no money trying to be a deal seller than making £5 doing car boots.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, well, guys, I hope you found that pretty useful. Be interested to know your thoughts. If you had any experience of any of those side hustles, if there's a side hustle that you think is better than what I recommend, I can't see how you could be, because I think rent-to-rent deal selling are absolutely unbelievable. If there is, comment below. I'd love to know your thoughts. Thank you ever so much for watching. My name is Russell Leeds.
I'm Ricky Mandal.
And we'll see you next week.